The music world was shaken again, and this time all eyes were only on Taehyung and Jungkook. No one was truly prepared for what happened that night. In the middle of an entertainment industry filled with idol stages, exclusive interviews, and endless special appearances, two names once again rose above the noise and became the center of global attention. Taehyung and Jungkook, the duo who somehow always managed to create emotional waves that no ordinary words can fully explain. They didn't just come to perform. They came to shake hearts, destroy emotions, and once again prove that whenever they stand on the same stage, there's always a kind of magic that no one else can recreate. That night on the stage of a music podcast event that had already been highly anticipated by millions of viewers around the world, the atmosphere at first seemed simple enough. The stage was decorated with soft lighting, a modern minimalist design, and a warm, relaxed vibe, almost as if the show was preparing everyone for a lighthearted evening full of laughter and casual conversation. But the moment Taehyung and Jungkook walked in, everything changed. The air felt different. The crowd exploded. The live comments flooded the screen so fast they became almost impossible to read. And within seconds, it felt like the world once again stopped for one thing, the one thing that always leaves fans breathless beyond words. TAEKOOK, together in a moment that felt far too powerful to call ordinary. Their entrance alone was enough to shake the entire room. As soon as the main camera turned toward the studio entrance, the audience's applause started politely enough. But the second the first figure appeared, Taehyung, carrying that calm yet overwhelmingly powerful aura he is so famous for, the crowd's reaction changed instantly. He walked in with that effortless style only he can pull off, the kind of look that seems casual on the surface but somehow becomes unforgettable the moment you see it. Every step he took seemed to carry a strange kind of quiet gravity, as if the entire room naturally adjusted itself to his presence. Before fans could even fully process Taehyung's entrance, another figure appeared right behind him, Jungkook. And that was when the real explosion happened. The studio turned into absolute chaos. Screams erupted from every direction. Even the podcast host was seen laughing in disbelief while briefly covering his ears, because the volume of the audience reaction had gone completely beyond expectation. Jungkook entered with his signature smile, slightly shy, slightly playful, yet still carrying that unmistakable stage power that makes him impossible to ignore. But what sent fans completely over the edge wasn't just the fact that they arrived together. It was the way they looked at each other the moment they sat down side by side. Yes, just from that one brief glance, social media immediately exploded with theories. Screenshots, slowed down edits, and emotional fan posts from people who felt there was something there that couldn't be explained logically. Taehyung sat down first and Jungkook followed beside him, slightly lowering his head with a small smile in his direction. Taehyung responded with that calm expression of his, but the softness in his eyes was so noticeable that many fans later admitted they could barely breathe while watching. And that was only the beginning, because no one yet knew that this night would become one of the most emotional appearances they had ever given. They didn't just come to perform, they brought a kind of closeness that felt almost too real. The podcast episode had originally been promoted as a special stage with music, relaxed conversation, and warm fan interaction. There were no huge spoilers, no obvious hints, no dramatic promotional clues. Everything seemed safe, and maybe that's exactly why what happened on stage hit so much harder. From the very first minutes of the interview, the host already seemed both amused and slightly overwhelmed by the natural dynamic between Taehyung and Jungkook. They weren't trying to force attention onto themselves. They weren't making anything feel staged. But because everything looked so natural, fans somehow found it even more impossible to look away. When the host asked how they felt about returning to a more relaxed and intimate stage format with fans, Jungkook answered first in a light tone, saying that he felt happy to meet fans in a less formal environment. But before he could even finish explaining, Taehyung casually slipped in a short comment that instantly made the entire studio explode. If he feels comfortable, then I feel comfortable too. One sentence. Just one sentence. And yet the audience reaction was absolutely uncontrollable. The host literally hit the small table in front of him while laughing in shock, while Jungkook immediately looked down and laughed shyly, as if he genuinely didn't know how he was supposed to react to that. Meanwhile, the live comments were completely losing their minds. I can't do this. Why are they always like this? This isn't a podcast, this is an emotional attack. I'm crying without permission. And from that moment on, everyone watching began to realize this wasn't just another appearance. This was a night where their chemistry felt far too obvious to ignore. The most heartbreaking part, when they taught fans their dance live vis, but if there was one part of the night that truly transformed this entire appearance into emotional history for fans, it was a segment that at first sounded very simple, teaching fans their dance. Who could have predicted that such a casual, fun activity would become the warmest, softest, and most emotionally devastating part of the entire show? The host introduced the segment with excitement, explaining that several lucky fans would be invited onto the stage to learn dance moves directly from Taehyung and Jungkook themselves. The audience screamed. Online fans panicked, and Taehyung and Jungkook exchanged glances as if they themselves were genuinely excited about the idea. The moment the music started playing softly in the background, the entire atmosphere in the studio changed. Not intimate in the sense of quiet, but intimate in the sense that everyone in the room suddenly understood they were witnessing something deeply sincere. Taehyung stood up first, then Jungkook followed. Both of them moved toward the center of the stage while several selected fans nervously came up with trembling hands, visibly shaking, some already on the verge of tears before the segment had even fully begun. And honestly, who wouldn't feel the same? Because standing just a few steps away from Taehyung and Jungkook while they personally teach you their choreography is not the kind of experience anyone could ever call normal. Jungkook became the sweetest dance teacher, but his glances toward Taehyung made everyone lose focus. Jungkook began the dance segment with such warm, supportive energy that it immediately softened the entire room. He demonstrated the first basic moves, while laughing lightly, whenever one of the fans became too nervous to follow the beat properly. He wasn't laughing at them. He was making the space feel safe. Patiently, he explained the details of each movement, hand placement, shoulder angles, timing, footwork, and the way he taught felt so natural, like someone who genuinely wanted the people in front of him to feel confident and succeed. But what truly sent online fans into complete hysteria wasn't just how sweet Jungkook looked while teaching. It was the fact that every few seconds he kept glancing at Taehyung, and not just ordinary glances, not just checking the next move, but glances that felt too soft, too full of something, too meaningful according to the fans who began analyzing every frame within minutes after the broadcast ended. There was one moment in particular that got replayed over and over again. While Jungkook was demonstrating a small turning motion and explaining the rhythm, he slightly lost balance because he had been too focused on one of the nervous fans trying to follow along. Before anyone could react, Taehyung immediately laughed softly and instinctively reached out to grab Jungkook's arm to steady him. It was just one brief touch, but the effect? An entire world collapsed in 3 seconds. The studio instantly exploded with screams. The host stood up from his chair. The fans on stage covered their mouths in shock.